This is Lewis Hart for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and Forged Irish Stout. Delighted today to be joined with Jamie Conlan. We're here at the press conference for Lewis, well, I suppose for Tyler Denny against Felix Cash, but you've got Lewis Crocker on the undercard taking on Conah Walker. Other than that, how's things, mate? How are you doing?
All good. Keeping well, keeping the head down and just playing forward.
Just before we do get into the Lewis Crocker fight, I do have to say, a couple of days ago it was the anniversary of the great fight that you had with Anthony Nelson. I mean, an absolute war. Sort of good memories of that fight?
Sore memories.
Yeah.
It was a sore night, great night. I actually didn't realise it was 8 years ago, and it's still very vivid in the memory. The feelings that gone into it, the feelings in it, and just one of them fights that come around very often. Luckily, I came out on the right side of it.
Absolutely, definitely. I suppose we'll move on now. Lewis Crocker takes on Conah Walker in a big fight for himself. Arguably one of the toughest tests of his career so far. An important fight for him for what could be next. So excited for this challenge for Lewis?
It's a big year. Saying on Matchroom and the progression they're putting into him is making things a lot more bigger, a lot more sweeter. Fighting in Belfast back to back, now coming first time in an opponent's backyard, a live opponent, Conah Walker, someone who's going to mix it, who's going to be right in front of him and throw him back. But needed. These are the kind of things that the boxes that need to be ticked on the road to become a world champion. It's the fight itself is. I think it's going to be a fire fight. I think really 3 to 5 round fire fight. Both lads are not going to move from the centre of the ring, and it's just trading. Which will play in our hands. I truly believe Lewis Crocker is the hardest puncher in the welterweight division. So it's a big one.
Do you feel like with Lewis, we've seen so much from him already, and we see how hard he can hit, but really the best is yet to come with him. As the levels step up, we may see an even better version of what we've seen so far. Yeah,
he's only started to come really into prominence when he was fighting with Tyrone, which was a big fight in the city, which was a lot of pressure that he had to carry for the first time in his career. And Tyrone's a very, very tough man, stuck in for 10 rounds, and it was a real hard, dominant performance for Lewis. Then straight in, no real Christmas, no real preparation time for Jose Felix, and again had to carry a show, had to kind of step up to the mark, didn't really get much time off, had an injury in his hand, so he was kind of thrusted into that one, handled Jose Felix pretty handily, and now into this. We haven't really got to see him go through the range of motions that we have seen in the gym that are really, really, I think, is starting to work now. They're working together in the gym in Glasgow. Him and Billy Nelson hasn't got shown his boxing ability, hasn't really got into a firefight the way I think we're going to get on June 22nd. So we're going to see a lot more, I think, on this one.
Not looking past, obviously not looking past Conah Walker, but we see Paddy Donovan taking on Lewis Ritson. Their two names are always linked, and we speak to Lewis today. That's a fight he wants. But do you believe that it's a collision clause for maybe towards the end of the year potentially?
That's the plan. Paddy Donovan and Lewis, I think, are on a collision course. Their trajectory is meaning steadily that they're going to clash each other. I think it's a massive fight for Irish boxing, but also with the WBA rankings that both of them hopefully should have by the time that this fight comes around. It's a massive fight in the WBA. It's a fight that you have the style clash in terms of the good, slick southpaw box puncher in Paddy Donovan, and then you have the good, come forward, aggressive box fighter in Lewis Crocker, and it's just going to be see who's able to implement their game plan quickest and hold the nerve under big pressure. Luckily enough, Lewis has had the experiences in a pressurised situation against Tyrone McKenna where it was really close rivalry in our city, and then holding his own card together with Jose Felix, and now coming in the backyard of Conah Walker. Can't look past this fight. I think this fight could potentially be even harder than a Paddy Donovan fight.
Absolutely. Just moving on, Mick, your brother, obviously Mick Conlan, done an interview with Boxing News the other day, sort of hinting that the comeback is very possible. It looks like he will be coming back. I suppose for yourself, what are the plans for the Mick's comeback, and I suppose the decision for him to come back to boxing, I guess?
I haven't seen the interview, so I don't know. I'd seen a snippet from it on social media, and he had said to me that he's done one, but we haven't really sat down and talked about it. We said we were going to talk about it after the marathon. He did tell me that this is more the kind of route he's looking to move, and He's going to go to Portugal with his family. He's just bought a new house. He's getting his outside life in order before he kind of gets back into the main space of boxing. So once he kind of comes back into that, that'll be something that we discuss probably in the next month.
I was going to say, like, how long do you think that time frame could be where we could see him Paddy back?
It's open for interpretation. You know, both of us have different thoughts, and you know, I think probably longer the better. Take some time out, you know, get everything in order, because the last two fights everything was rushed. You know, there was a lot of outside stuff, a lot of personal stuff. You know, we had to kind of get it sorted, and now it's all sorted. It's about kind of now making sure you're in the right main space to go in and put your body through what it's going to go through.
Did want to move on to, I suppose, wider boxing topics. Last night was an absolutely crazy night for boxing, especially across the pond. Not only did Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo go absolutely back and forth, Ryan Garcia obviously tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs for his fight with Devin Haney. I suppose, firstly, touching on that, another concern, I suppose your thoughts on seeing that performance and seeing that he was on PEDs, a concerning one.
The more we see it, the less we are surprised. I don't know. I start to lose the romanticism of boxing more and more. You know, I was very excited, and then in the build-up to that fight, it was so intriguing. There was a lot of factors in play. You know, the mindset and the mentality of Ryan Garcia, and the back and forth with Haney's dad, and all the kind of things that were the outside influences made everyone, I think, outside of boxing intrigued in that fight and bought into it. So that, you know, the general population were kind of, you know, your neighbour was talking about it. Then the result and how it all went, how the kind of upset happened. You know, it was a bit of a, not a feel good factor, but yeah, it was along those lines. And now we kind of have to, you can't really celebrate a victory till the VADA tests come back now, it seems, and it seems it's been happening a lot. I have my own thoughts, and I think a majority of them are all at it, and I think they're just better. Whoever's better at masking stays champion longer. It's scary to think that these fighters are actually doing what they're doing, and I don't know exactly the whole ins and outs of it. It's hard to really comment on Garcia's situation aside of what I think of the widespread PEDs in boxing, but it just seems to be more common now that you're acting less surprised.
I was going to say, how big of a concern is it for you, for someone like you who has boxed and you've never cut any corners, you've never done anything wrong, and you know, same for your brother, to see people who almost gain an advantage and you know, are gaining an advantage, I suppose disappointing more when you see it that way as well. You lose a bit of love for the sport more and more every day. Is what I feel about it. There's something more, something new, something around the PEDs in sport and boxing. It's not like PEDs in athletics. You know, this is a sport where people get hurt. You know, this is a sport where lives are on the line. And I know that sounds probably corny at times, but they generally are on the line. And if you're taking in a performance-enhancing drug to actually physically hurt another human, I think you should be charged with some kind of criminal. Yes, you was something like there should be some kind of GBH charge, something like that attached to it. But it may sound a bit extreme, but like to mix over the sport and that. So, but yeah, it's not a good time for the sport. But I think it's something that's been in the sport and been hushed. But it needs to be pushed more by promoters, by broadcasters. You know, not work with these fighters ever again, because if there's always an avenue back in, then what's stopping you from getting it? You know, you're getting whatever Garcia got, 25 million, whatever it was, the number was for that fight. What's the slap on the wrist for him? You know, was a 2-year ban? He's going to survive, and he'll come back. And the momentum building you've seen with previous boxers who've been popped. It doesn't hurt their reputation. They're still able to stay in the sport. So, the ramifications need to be stronger on these people. For sure. I suppose it's just a final one from myself. I know you are quite involved in Team Harlem Eubank, and I do know he's obviously fighting Adam Azim or potentially fighting Adam Azim next. I suppose from the Harlem Eubank side, and what can you tell us about that fight and I suppose the potential of that fight for Harlem?
Harlem is in preparation for Adam Azim. Him and Charlie Beat are going over game plans right now for Adam Azim, and they're working on something for Adam Azim. It's a fight that Harlem and Charlie are really excited to have, and I know Azim has had a bit of a niggle on his ankle pre-Ramadan or post-Ramadan, and they're just waiting now to see what comes back. It's apparently next, and that's what everyone's prepared for.
Jamie, appreciate taking time to speak to me. Always good to catch up, mate. Always good to see you. And yeah, all the best for Lewis's fight against Conah Walker. Sorry, thank you. Cheers.